I understand you grew up in Connecticut. Is that right?
Yes, I was born in Hartford, but first 7 years of my life. Then my brother, older brother Charlie, and two sisters, Martha and Linda, we moved to Newington, about 10 miles out of Hartford. And that's where I became a runner. My sophomore year in high school, they were starting cross country running.
Yeah. Which I think is amazing how our lives can be shaped by something so random, right? Like, so you're playing hockey and baseball prior to that, and then all of a sudden your high school happens to pick up a cross country program, and just that shaped your life probably more than anything else, right? Just them picking up a cross country program.
Yes, it was the first year they'd ever had cross country. It was only boys because in 1963 there wasn't a lot of girls or women's running except maybe in the 100 meters, 200 meters, the sprints, events like that. But but I ran the gym class mile, and I was the fastest kid in the school in the mile. And I'm not sure if it was because, when the cops were occasionally chasing me, when I got in trouble.
Of course. That's great stuff. Yeah, yeah, you got to be faster than them. It's like the old zombie apocalypse stuff, right? You don't have to be faster than the zombies. You just have to be faster than the slowest person running from the zombies, right?
Absolutely. Name of the game.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great stuff. So yeah. Let me ask you this because this is always a great question that I ask a lot of musicians. Growing up, what are some lessons that you learned from your family that you still kind of apply to your life today?
You know, really good question. At first, my brother Charlie and I were just doing cross country, and I ran one road race my senior year in high school, but I wasn't a marathoner. I didn't become a marathoner till years later when I moved to Boston and saw the Boston Marathon. But my dad was a mechanical engineer. He was a scientist type, and my mom was a nurse's aide in Newington. And but I learned a lot from them. One thing, they are both kind of very hardworking and kind of persevering type people. And there were four of us, so they were working hard to take care of all four of us.
Hmm.
And so I think we all felt that and understood, that they were trying hard to help us out. And so for a marathoner, a distance runner, you really like that. It's a you know it's kind of almost an everyday thing. In fact, I trained twice a day for a lot of years, and because it's all cardio, you're building your heart,
Hmm.
and then it's also kind of mental. Running is a mental sport, you know.
Yeah, so I was curious about that because I agree with you. It's very, very mental. I think it's more mental than physical because you kind of have to turn off the pain, so to speak, right, and bring yourself to a different place. So mentally speaking, what is the training like there that's a little bit different than training physically?
The training mentally and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think you know what I think, Chris, that it's really that you get used to it. You find, I ran 2 miles when I was running cross country, 2.5 miles. Then in college, it went up to 5 miles. And that was a pretty long haul to run
Yeah,
cross
yeah, yeah.
country.
That's
Or
double.
two, yes, or 2 miles on the track, and I was a little Division III school, but a great school. But I was very lucky. I always had good coaches. My high school coach, Coach Frank O'Rourke,
Hmm.
great coach. This is the key. Most people never had a coach, and most people never played a sport. I think because they weren't chosen in their high school days. Do you
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
cross country, the door is open to everyone. No one gets benched. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
They do have scoring by five-person teams, both men and women. And cross country is a big sport now in the United States. About 500,000 young high school and college age runners run cross country, all three divisions. And there's also a world cross country championships, and I ran in those twice. But most people think I can't do this, and because they never had a chance at it. But really, it's very simple. It's just going out and getting your running shoes or your walking shoes. Actually, I believe walking is the best sport of all because you don't get injured much,
Right. Yep.
unless, unless you're walking on the icy roads of Boston now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned your high school coach, Frank O'Rourke. I wanted to talk a little bit about him as well because I know that the passion for something comes from within almost always, right? So if you have a passion for running or cross country, track and field, whatever it is, that comes from within. But if you don't have somebody to cultivate that and teach you and train you along the way, then that passion is only half the battle. So I'd love to hear you talk about the impact of Frank on your life and your career.
He was the first year coach, and but we knew that he had been a runner in college, so that gave us a lot of thought. Like, wow, he really knows what he's doing. He's good, and he was kind of this really mellow coach. He wasn't like some of the coaches that you hear of who drive their athletes into the ground.
The drill
Or
instructor coaches, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't mind. I want a knowledgeable coach. The knowledgeable coaches are the best coaches.
Hmm.
That's what I think. And no, I don't know about the other sports so much, but in running, it's definitely true. And because this is a highly competitive sport, it doesn't get much ink or sports coverage, but it's you know athletics, under
Hmm.
which marathoning is a part, is growing all over the US and all over the world. And more people are trying these kinds of sports because number one, it's about your health, your
Hmm.
life, and
Hmm.
what you want to do. And the door is open. It's not too expensive, compared to some other sports. You don't get really bad injuries like some sports. And you have fun and you meet great people. So it's really kind of a win-win sport. But Coach O'Rourke, one time I do remember swearing at him once though. I was running around the track and it was like a hot day and I could hear him on the other side of the track and he yelled something to me and I swore something. So now and then there's teenage angst, and
Hmm.
it is a hard sport
That
because
rebelliousness, right?
yeah, and you just kind of sometimes you don't want to keep going
Hmm.
and you quit. And I used to never really run in the summers, when I was in high school or college. But my college teammate, who actually won the Boston Marathon, Amby Burfoot from Groton, Connecticut,
Hmm.
he told me, Bill, when we go home for the summer, try running 5 miles every other day, something like that. But I didn't do it until my senior year. And then when I did that, my times really came down when I went back to school. So the training is key. You don't have to go crazy. You can get a lot in this sport by doing a little.
Yeah, I love that.